Hello, hello. We are here with Lavender Shadows, our Birdie Wheel campaign, and we're here, but unfortunately without an Emily, which is very sad. We will miss her, but it's okay because honestly, her character's in a place right now where she's probably the easiest character to like take a break from for a second to focus on these others. And the way Birdie Wheel works, we focus on often. Especially the kind of game we're playing with like intrigue and stuff. Most of the scenes are like separate from each other. There might be some crossover scenes, but you don't need everyone for every scene. So we're gonna go ahead and delve back into the world of the country of Auvergne and the city of Anasteire, the Harmony Opera House, and our lovely characters here who have just witnessed the death of the owner of the Harmony Opera House. Yes.
I'll say real quick. Yes. I was gonna try and make a pun. See what the opposite of lavender was, and so like, oh, blank light is the opposite of lavender. It's just yellow, and I was like, oh, this is really disappointing.
Yep. Complementary colors.
Yellow light. Wow, so spooky.
Woo,
also it's Halloween.
I just wanted to think of something that sounded stupid and was like, nope, yellow light, that's just a thing.
Isn't that what you always do, though, Seth? Think of something that sounds stupid and then you say it. And
but it wasn't stupid though. That's my point. Like, this just sounds normal. So disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, whatever.
But yeah, it's Halloween. I don't think we have anything particularly spooky planned, but I mean,
special Halloween episode. The Christian artist.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
I could pull out some tax forms.
No, we're talking about spoopy, not actually scary. But you know, 2 people got murdered last session, so we can deal with the aftermath of that one.
It's true.
Yeah,
it's spooky enough.
It's spooky enough. Yeah, death happens to be a spooky thing. Okie dokie. So let's go ahead and go through our beliefs and instincts and traits here with each of our characters. Get familiar with them once more. Mr. Marco Tisby, who are you? What are your beliefs and instincts?
Crikey. No.
Our resident Australian inspector. By the way, I did actually learn today that French police officers in the 1600s were called inspectors. So, boom.
I'm Inspector Tisby.
Yeah. Okay. Do they sound like that? No.
No, quite sounds like Marco Tisby. So my beliefs are: I can find the killer. I will find justice. I can find a better life. I will bring my family out of poverty, and I will find extra work. People are inherently not trustworthy. And then my instincts: I always have a knife on me. I always make sure I know who is in the room, and I always have an alibi ready. Mm-hmm. Then traits, just the character traits.
Yeah.
Well, I forgot one of these last week. That's right. There's rabble rouser, shrewd, drop dead gorgeous, chronologue, odd, frugal, and emotional.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And you have the die traits: cold-blooded, jaded, and thick-skinned.
And
cool.
I like to say crikey.
You do. All right, so this would also be the time where we can kind of review beliefs to make sure everybody's on the same page with these. You accomplished the task for belief 2. You found extra work, so you can.
I found extra work, but I still need to bring my family out of poverty.
Right. So, but I'm saying you can.
I can take off the extra work part.
Take off the extra work part, and then again, how beliefs would work to give you the most bang for your buck here, right? Is you have the part of the belief that is like, you know, I can find the killer, I will find justice. That's like the overarching like big thing, and then you probably want to break that down into smaller pieces and have a latter sentence that is like a step you can work towards and could accomplish in 1, 2, or 3 sessions. Because otherwise, you can only get 1 persona point when you accomplish a belief, and so you're going to want to break that down into small pieces. Otherwise, you're only going to get 1 persona point for a very big belief that probably could have broken down into smaller pieces.
So maybe like for I can find a better life, I will bring my family out of poverty. Then in parentheses, I will prove I'm the right man for the job.
Okay, so you want to, I mean, you've been given the job. I don't know.
But I want to prove that I was the right choice.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So Yeah, I think we can find a concrete like goal point for that. That makes sense. Yeah. So for belief 1, you obviously want to find justice for the guy, but that's like multiple session thing. What's the first step of that you can accomplish, even maybe this session, right? Maybe something like, because you're gonna find out pretty soon here that the guy, your witness, right, your servant dude, is got killed, right? So you could probably say, you know, I'll find out what happened to Ferrant, is his name. That could be a thing.
Okay.
And then what do you think your second part for people are inherently not trustworthy could be? Is there something you would act on because of that belief about the world? Right? I mean, your thing from before, from last time, the reason you hit on
was
that
Alyssa's
was
character.
Alyssa, right? You could say people are inherently not trustworthy. I will discover if Joe had anything to do with the crime, right? Like that could be a thing.
That would be a good one.
Yeah.
Aww.
What
Thank you, honey.
Red velvet, and then I think it's just regular chocolate.
I'll take the red velvet.
Ooh, that's nice and light.
Yeah, it is nice.
That'd be that.
Cool. All right. Awesome. Sounds good. We'll leave those there then. Josephine Boulet.
Hello, I am Joe.
Perfect.
Sorry. Hi, I'm Joe. I am a strong, independent woman who don't need no man.
Yeah.
And I will make Sir Pascal Gilbert indifferent to me.
It'd been really funny had you said that when Ryan was walking in.
I was strong.
Bro, I don't need your cupcake.
Then he takes it right. No, bring it back.
No, please, I want my cupcake.
But I want the cookie.
The ancient language must not be forgotten. I will continue to teach Viviane. Learning is the key to improving oneself. I will acquire a new book. And instincts, if someone has romantic interest in me, I push them away. If someone asks me about sign language, I will begin to teach them. Always call out a liar. Which I did that last session.
You certainly did. They got you a fate point.
For traits, I am a rabble-rouser, instinct hands, no nonsense, headstrong, traditional, and sophisticated.
And you have a mark of privilege. You are a bookworm.
Yes.
And you are driven to instruct.
Yes. So driven.
Awesome. So, question for you. You had thought last time about making a play for the leadership of the Forsaken Quill Society. Now that
I had thought about doing what?
Remember, Lord Maxence
you
Bechard
mean
took an untimely demise, trying to become the
yes.
leader of the Forsaken Quill Society. Would you like to replace any of your existing beliefs with that? Because otherwise, if you go towards it and accomplish it, you won't get anything for it unless it's on your beliefs.
I know.
Is acquiring a new book like really that pressing?
Probably not. I think I just put that because like I didn't know what else to put.
Right, exactly.
So, but I feel like that kind of goes with my belief of I am a strong, independent woman who don't need no man. Though is the thing is trying to become the leader.
Yeah.
So I don't know, or maybe like because I feel like that makes sense with that belief, but I still want to like make him indifferent to me.
Right.
So I don't know. How could I word that to where like, yes, I want to be the leader, but like,
I mean, you can also just completely change the belief where it's not learning is the key to improving oneself. Obviously, that's a thing that she believes, but you could just change it entirely and have it be.
No, I understand that. It's just that it kind of just, I feel like becoming the leader, the reason she wants to do that is because she believes that she's a strong, independent woman who don't need no man.
Okay, but do you still want to make sure Sir Pascal Gilbert is different to you?
Yes, of course I do.
So maybe what we should do is find, let's see. I mean, but is there another reason why you could obviously that's one reason why you would want to become the leader, but is another reason possibly
because I'm the best one for the job, obviously.
Yeah, you could literally just write belief 3 because obviously it's true that your strong independence is also a factor in wanting to become the leader, but it's more relevant to say that's the reason you don't want Sir Pascal Gilbert to be,
or anybody else
interested in you. Yeah.
Okay, so so then like
the Forsaken Quill Society is without a leader. I am the best for the job. right? Like,
Okay.
that could literally
Well,
be
is
your
that a
whole belief.
belief though?
Yeah, that could literally be the whole belief, because once you are the person in charge, you've accomplished it, right?
Okay. Without a leader, I will resume that position.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Dope.
Cool stuff.
Problem is, I'm gonna have to probably make a persuasion check, and I'm still learning how to do that.
Mhm. I cannot wait for you to attempt to get all these people on your side and fail horribly.
Ugh.
Oh gosh, why do I always do this? I wanted to say, speaking of failing horribly.
Wow.
Hey, Viviane. I don't know why my brain does that. Like, it doesn't make any sense that I would say that, but it was too good of a segue.
Oof. Too close to home.
You should just walk away, Carly.
No,
You're a
Carly,
strong, independent
no.
woman.
I wasn't speaking about you, Carly. I promise.
I know that.
Just about her character.
No, not even about that, really. I don't think your character failed at all. Well, you did fail, actually.
Yeah, she did. I believe someone can love me. I will find them and return the favor. And in parentheses, discover if Frederick really cares for me or
Right.
not.
Mm-hmm.
I believe I owe Jo much. I will heed her advice.
So you're gonna stand up for yourself?
Or try to.
You're gonna try to? Yeah.
I believe plants can teach people about patience and beauty. I will teach someone to appreciate my garden.
Sweet.
And instincts, always be kind, even in the face of disrespect. Never neglect to send a swiftly written reply to a letter.
Mm-hmm.
And always have a good book on my person.
Nice.
Which didn't really come up last time, but you can just assume that she has a book of plants stuff.
Yeah. And that might come in handy when you need a book to reference.
Yeah.
About plants. What are your traits?
Rabble rouser, earthy smell, salt of the earth, sophisticated, headstrong, and traditional.
And you have an affinity for plants, marker privilege, and you are down to earth.
Which is why she has the earthy smell, probably.
Probably.
Right, exactly. Well, down to earth is, it's a call. Yeah, it's a call in for flower wife.
Joke.
I know it's a joke, but I like to take your jokes seriously.
Yeah, I get that enough from Cody, my roommate. He's a lawyer.
I think it's really funny how all
Word
three of
lawyer.
you have rabble rouser as a trait.
True.
I feel like Marco and Joe certainly embody that, but I have a feeling the first time we get to a trait vote, unless Viviane really does take Joe's
Actually,
advice.
has heed to my advice. Yes. She'll become just like me.
Yes, your little protege.
Oh no.
Alrighty, so I think we start with we see the skyline of Anasteire. We see the river, the sun rising in the distance, the beautiful cityscape, and then we cut to a particularly, I guess it would be the street outside the Harmony Opera House, nicer district of town, and we start hearing some chanting, and then like a gong being rung. And we just see several priests. They're wearing white robes. They have various sigils, arcane-looking symbols, probably have religious significance. To someone who read that, whatever ancient language that's from, sewn into their robes at various points. And it looks like some of them have, like, probably prayers, like, sewn from the sleeve, like this thick parchment is sewn into the sleeve and it kind of hangs down, and they're like reading the prayer as they just kind of hold their sleeve up like this. They're chanting themselves as they walk down, and there's one of these priests is like ringing a gong, and this is like a normal thing that happens in Anasteire. We just see people like going about their business, walking by, and then a few like nobles come up to the guy who's in front, who's holding like an alms bag, and some nobles like put coins into the alms bag for these monks or whoever they are, and then we cut to the inside of the Harmony Opera House, and Marco Tisby is waking up to the sound of his gong. you're probably not familiar with this sound, because this probably isn't a thing that happens where you're from. But it wakes you up, certainly, and maybe in a cranky mood.
Oh, definitely cranky.
Yeah. And remind me, did the guy that you were talking to basically say, like, I'll be there in a couple hours or whatever?
I didn't write that down.
I'm pretty sure it was. He
I
said,
think
let me
yeah.
find like a
Yeah.
babysitter and then
Yeah.
I'll come.
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably fell asleep waiting for him.
Right, that's what I was thinking, right? Yeah, that's probably what happened. And so you wake up, and that's probably your first thought is like, he never came. Like,
Well, I should have trusted him. And I think to myself, like, well, that was a mistake.
Yeah.
So I decided to go find him.
I figured you would. So you
This
get,
time, I will not take no for an answer.
Mm-hmm. So you get close to the same district, right? We see you, maybe like even just like straightening your clothing as you're walking down the street again, because you've just kind of like thrown stuff on and then run off to go do this. And we see that there are some like actual like constables or whatever, some inspectors like outside the guy's house.
Actual inspectors. I'm an inspector.
Right. Well, you're a private inspector. You're not officially licensed necessarily, but yeah, you see a couple of like, guys in like this particular uniform that you've been passively familiar with in the city of Anasteire. People have these like kind of rounded helmets, this uniform, and one of them is talking to a kind of a gruff old man who's like standing and gesturing at the house.
Do I recognize the man from the night before?
The old man? No.
Okay.
Not necessarily. Yeah, so you just like walk up.
Yeah, I kind of like scope out, obviously, like, because I say like, oh, I'm an inspector, but like I know that like I might not be taken too kindly to if I just kind of barge in. So I kind of see around, like if I can see anyone who looks like they're from the area. See, if pretty much I'm going to try and find out if anyone around knows what just happened.
Okay, so are you going to ignore the three, like the two inspectors and the old man for now?
Well, I don't look like them at all, do I? I look like I'm just some guy that came off the street.
No, yeah, you don't have like a uniform.
So I'm probably just gonna ask someone else first, real quick, just to see what happened.
Sure, yeah, that makes sense.
And I might find a lady because I'm drop dead gorgeous,
Ooh,
and
all right,
more likely to get an answer. No,
sure, if that's the tack you're taking.
I don't know if I really would. I just find someone like who's nearby. Like
Yeah.
probably be the kind of situation where like I walk up, see what's happening, and like is there like a crowd? I guess is my
Not really, but there's a
Oh.
woman. There's one woman who is like looking from the alleyway. Marcou, would you make just a perception test for me? I'm just curious if you notice something about this person.
Let's see if I remember how to do that. Perception. I press the die.
Yeah.
And do I can't add any modifiers to it, can I?
No. Just give me an op 2.
Base obstacle 2.
Yeah, so it's a prostitute, right? Like you recognize the telltale signs that this is probably like a prostitute. And she looks like she's like watching the whole exchange, and is maybe a little scared. And yeah, you just go up to her. She hasn't really noticed you yet, exactly.
Yeah, I think I'll try and kind of bring my way over there, try not to scare her. Like, hopefully in a way that won't scare her off.
Yeah, sure. So you just kind of step up to her, and she like starts when she sees you. But I think do you like say anything like when she notices you?
I'm like, hey, no, relax. Do you know what happened?
I don't know nothing, sir.
You look awfully scared for someone who doesn't know nothing.
I promise I don't.
Then why are you so scared?
And you can tell that she's like looking around like for an escape route or something. She thought she had escaped the notice of the inspectors, but then this guy comes up to her and like is asking her. But you can make a roll here to try to like calm her down, or you can just like go straight to intimidate and be like, "Tell me what you know." Right.
I mean, that might be easier.
I do have a question, right? Like we get to learn about who Marco is, whether or not he's going to try to be nice, and then the world will break him down, and he'll realize that his only avenue is intimidation.
Well, because the thing is, I don't have skill. Oh, I actually no. My persuasion is a lot better. My persuasion is a lot better than my intimidation.
Okay, so what do you say to exactly persuade her? Like, because it's basically saying to someone like, "This is in your best interest to talk to me right now."
Probably something along the lines of. Like, can I kind of get the idea that maybe this is the reason my the guy I was meeting up with isn't here? Could I piece that together maybe?
Oh yeah, I mean probably. He's probably like dead or something, or he went missing or
so like it's because they were like around his house.
Yeah, exactly. And you saw the old man like point at the house at one point. So
I say, look, the man in that house was a suspect for murder. I need to know what happened to him if we're going to take a killer off the street. You want the streets to be safe, don't you?
Okay, sure. Yeah, you can make a persuasion test.
And can I fork into rule of law, because I was talking about the fact that it's a murder, and also streetwise, because I know that this is a prostitute, kind of trying to get the idea.
You can fork in streetwise, but not murder-wise, I don't think.
No, rule of law.
Or rule of law. Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, that makes sense. Sorry, I thought you said murder-wise.
Because No, rule of law, because I can say, like, look, like, I'm like trying to give myself that authority. How many, that's 2 modifiers then?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then
up 3.
See, I don't know what these obs, like how difficult these makes them yet, so I don't know how good this is gonna be.
Right.
Oh, just barely.
Yeah, it's a routine test for you, so you don't even get a test for it. It was pretty easy for you.
Oh, did I get something for oh no, I don't get anything perception, do I?
Yeah,
okay.
Routines never count for stats.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, cool. So she, calms down a little bit. And so so basically you were just saying, do you know anything?
Like, look, like this guy was like the guy who was there was part of an investigation. I'm trying to get a killer off the streets. You want a killer off the streets, don't you? Kind of insinuating, like, because would this have been actually no, this wouldn't have been around the time of Jack the Ripper, so that's not necessarily the case.
But the idea of like say that there's maybe
but the idea of like someone of her stature is not exactly someone who is more likely to be targeted than a
right. You could get away with killing a prostitute easier than you could get away with
and so like you want a killer off the street, don't you?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So I think she finally calms down, and then she says, "Of course, sir. Of course. That makes sense. I'm sorry. It's been a bit of a fright. Well, you see, yesterday there was a scuffle, I think. And, I heard some shouting. I heard, some harsh words being exchanged. This is usually around the area that I frequent.
Maybe any of the woods?
Mainly just shouting, just get away, or... maybe I won't give you what you want. I think I heard, but I think he's dead. I think Farron is dead. I don't know. I haven't checked for myself. But and then she kind of like looks behind her and then catches herself, and then she says, "And that's all I know." But you can tell that there's something she's keeping from you.
Can I see if I can see what she noticed?
Yeah.
She looked back.
Yeah, I guess make an observation test.
And I can't fork into anything, right? Since it's learned.
I don't believe so, no.
What's the ob?
The ob is whatever this person's gonna do.
Ah, I knew it.
And And they don't have the skill either, though, so they're just using their base. So it's going to be an ob 4, but it doesn't double. So put it at ob 2.
That's still hard.
Actually, basically just roll a perception test and have the ob 4. That will be more accurate.
Okay.
Because it's just a stat versus stat at this point.
But perception ob 4, no modifiers.
Perception ob 4, no modifiers.
You got streetwise. Okay, so this is gonna be hard. Take it. So close.
You think you saw something, but then you second guess yourself and you're like, no, there's no one there.
I'm writing these. I'm writing these down before I forget. What?
You can mark that difficult test for perception, though.
I mark things. Okay.
Yeah, for stats.
Oh, routine ones don't get marked.
Yeah,
Okay.
and so actually, now that I'm thinking about it, because the way this works, the way Burning Wheel works, right, is stats are the base for skills, and so really every time you're rolling a stat, it's almost as if you're rolling a being learned for some skill that maybe doesn't exist but could exist. And so really for that perception test that I had you roll earlier, it was basically for I feel like it was like prostitute wise or something like that.
Well, what about observation?
Well, because it wasn't observation, because you were just trying to, like, the first perception test to notice who she was. It was like, so I'm going to allow you can go ahead and do this because a routine would count for a bubble towards the being learned skill. You can put in your being learned, add some sort of wise that you would have been working towards for that.
What about?
That makes sense.
What about?
Right? Streetwise is a different.
Oh, streetwise. Streetwise doesn't matter for.
It's for
anyway.
like navigating the streets. Yeah.
I guess I'll just put prostitute wise because I don't know what else I would do.
Exactly. You have a bubble towards learning prostitute wise if you ever want to.
Okay.
And it's based on perception. So. Yeah, just so I'm not jipping you out of any tests that
Makes
you possibly
sense.
get. So, cool.
Wait, I'm writing this all. She said she heard a commotion.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'm not giving you what you. I'm not. What was it exactly? I'm not giving you.
I won't give you what you want.
I won't give you what you want. Is about to say more, but stops herself.
Look behind.
I'm gonna
her
take as that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, do you say anything more, or I think she basically says like, now if that's all, sir, I really should keep going. I have.
At this point, I might try and go a little bit because I can. Okay, can I at least tell that even though I don't know what stopped her, I can tell she's not telling me something.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
I think I might try and go the intimidation route a little bit, and say, because at this point, what's the point? Why not? She's obviously not telling me anymore.
Sure.
And say.
So now we're just learning more about Marco's character and whether or not he'll.
Well, it's like she's
bully
lying.
A random prostitute.
I'm not gonna hurt her. I'm just going to intimidate
You're just gonna
her.
make her think that you're going to hurt her.
I'm saying. I'm not gonna say anything like a different kind of intimidation, not like violent intimidating, but like.
I mean, the definition of intimidation is basically like the threat of violence to get your way. Like,
well, it's not my violence I'm intimidating with her with though. More like
intimidation is the communication of threat. You will
I know,
do
but
something bad.
Would it be more trying to scare her than if I'm like, look, you're putting your head on your shoulders if you're not telling me? Like, I guess I would be more trying to scare her.
Yeah, I think it's still intimidation in that case.
Okay, I'm saying if you're not telling me something, it's your head. It's your own head.
Okay, so that also could be an ugly truth test. If you're just trying to tell her like the ugly truth that is happening right now, and here it is. If you don't tell me what you want to know, then you might die. If that's all it is, then you can make that test.
What's ugly truth?
Ugly truth is a skill based on perception. Basically, the definition of that one is stripping a situation to its like bare core and like showing her what it is.
It's based on perception.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is I'm like perception I'm better at, but it's gonna be doubled whatever it is.
Yeah. But the ob for a ugly truth is based on the difficulty, like the complexity of the truth.
It's not that.
It's not that complex. So
Maybe I'll try it. Being learned, I'll add ugly truth.
yeah, I mean, Marco, that thing seems like a thing that you would learn eventually.
Yeah.
Ugly truth is a good skill.
And
to
it's
have.
based on perception?
Yep, based on perception.
Okay.
So let's see. Ugly truth. What would the ob be here? The singular ability to strip a situation or argument to its bare naked core. It's probably stating the obvious worst possible outcome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's an ob 1, which will double to 2.
Ooh,
So
I can
definitely
do
within the realm
that.
of possibility. Yeah.
Don't fail me now, dice. Oh, additional complications?
Nope.
Okay.
Oh,
Dang it!
wow.
Dang it! Are you serious?
Okay,
Yikes.
so I'd just like to point out, now that you have Fate in Persona, you can technically, so the way, and we should have gone over this at the very beginning.
Yeah.
I forgot to do that. So just real quick, Fate can be used primarily to re-roll dice. So you can spend 1 Fate to re-roll any 6s that you might have. You didn't roll any 6s there, but you can also spend another Fate to re-roll 1 failed dice. So you don't have the option to re-roll 6s, but you could spend a Fate in this instance to re-roll 1 failed dice. So you would have a 50-50 chance of succeeding.
So I have to spend 1 fate?
Yep. So if you had 6s, if you had, say, a 6, for example, you could spend a 1 or 2 Fate. You could spend 1 Fate to just re-roll the 6, or you could spend 2 Fate to re-roll the 6 and re-roll 1 failed dice. But since you don't have any 6s, you can still spend 1 Fate and re-roll 1 failed dice.
Wait, aren't 6... Wait, I'm confused. Are 6s good?
Yes. If you get a 6, then they can open end, which means if you... So basically, say all of your successes in this were 6s. Say you got 2 successes and it was... they were both 6s. You could spend 1 Fate and both of those 6s would re-roll.
And it would add to the...
And then if you got more successes, they would add. If you got more 6s, they would keep rolling until you didn't get a 6 anymore.
Okay, so it's a way to keep that score, but then get more.
Expand the amount of successes you're getting, yeah.
Sure, I might as well spend a fate point to reroll something.
Yeah, so you can reroll 1 failed dice. So
I mean,
go
most of them are refilled. What do I do to do that?
So just a macro you can use if you want to automatically have it tell you how many successes you get is you can do the normal like /R 1d6, but then you can do let's see, what's the macro? It's 1d6 greater than 4, and then it will tell you whether you got a success or not.
Here we go. Dang.
It didn't come up for me.
I didn't see it.
Yeah, I can't
Oh.
see it.
I don't see it.
There's
What did it
this
say?
is 0. I rolled a 2.
You rolled a 2. Oh, sad day.
I rolled a 2 and got another 2.
Okay, so now what you're going to do is on, I guess this would be on perception. So where your perception is, there's 3 bubbles next to it that say F, P, and D. In the F bubble, write 1 fate. Put a 1 there.
Why do I do that?
I will tell you. So real quick, let's go through Artha, just so everybody knows how all that works. So Artha are ways to succeed on things that are impossible otherwise. You get Artha, right, by completing beliefs, instincts, causing trouble for your character, various other things. But they can be spent to do fun things. So for 1, you can spend a fate point to reroll all 6s in a failed roll, or a roll that you just want to have more successes on for one reason or another. You can also spend another fate to reroll 1 failed dice. Some skills, magic skills usually, are open-ended automatically, so they automatically reroll 6s, like Steel, for example. And so you can still always spend 1 fate to reroll 1 failed dice in that instance, even though the 6s automatically reroll. You can technically also use a fate point to shrug off a plus 1 ob wound penalty, which you can get for having a small wound. So you can do that to make that ob penalty go away. You can spend persona points, which are more powerful, to give yourself 1 die plus in a test, to grit your teeth, so get rid of 1 die of a wound penalty, so a more serious wound. You can also spend a persona point to to counteract the effect of a time complication in various tests. You can also spend a persona point to survive a mortal wound. If you get struck a mortal wound at any point, you have to have a persona point, otherwise you die. If you spend the persona point, you will live, though it may take you a long time to recover. You can also spend a persona point to redirect the narrative away from certain death. So say you get, like, the roll that you just made would lead to your certain death. You can say, actually, instead, I want to be hanging off of a cliff, almost about to die. And then you can spend a persona point to do that, and then you can try to get out of that situation. And then there are deeds. Deeds are the most powerful, Artha. They are only gotten by, like, incredible character change. We won't even really talk about them in detail right now. But suffice it to say, they can do pretty crazy things. They can reroll all failed dice in a test, or double the amount of dice you're rolling in a test. And so when you're spending those, you're going to mark them on whatever you spent them on. And if you spend a certain amount of Artha on a particular skill, stat, attribute, whatever it is, then you can possibly get what's known as a shade shift. And what you can do with that is the skill then becomes, instead of, you see that B that's next to all of the skills and stats and stuff, there's a B there right next to the die.
Oh, yeah.
You can change that to either a G or a W, which means, so right now all of your stuff is black shaded, which means that successes are rolled on 4s, 5s, or 6s. If you have a gray shaded skill or stat, that means you have a success on a 3, 4, 5, or 6. So your chances to succeed go up by a lot. If you have a white shaded stat, which will probably never happen in this game, then you will succeed on every number except a 1. So, yeah.
Dang.
So we'll mark any Artha spent in anything so that you could eventually get one of those shade shifts and then basically have a legendary stat or skill.
How many do you have to spend to get that?
Quite a bit.
Okay.
So but Burning Wheel is meant to be like a long game, so that's kind of the way that works. You have to spend. Let me double check this. Artha. To get a temporary shade shift, which just does it for one scene, you need to spend 5 fate points, 3 persona points, and 1 deeds point. And again, deeds points are very difficult to get, so that's like,
a lot.
Yeah. To get an epiphany, which is like the permanent shade shift, you have to spend 20 fate points, 10 persona points, and 3 deeds points. But these are cumulative, so they don't have to restart every time you get one. They always stay on whatever it is you're building them on. So, yep.
So in other words, it might not happen at all.
It might not happen at all, but you know.
Dang it, that'd have been cool.
Yeah, but that's that's why we keep track of Artha. All right, cool. So Marco, you failed. And so this lady, like, I think she just doesn't understand, or she just ignores your point. And just,
she's more scared of him than me, maybe.
Exact, probably, right? Like, and so she shakes her head and says, "I really need to go."
Then I just kind of groan and walk away.
Yeah, and then she walks away. And I think what we see is, as you walk away, we follow her, and we see this prostitute walk down the alley and then go off to the side, and then we see her like bend down, and hidden in like a refuse pile is like a small child, and we recognize this as the child of the guy that just died.
Aww.
That Marco met yesterday, and so this prostitute like takes him by the hand and then like leads him away, like, to safety.
Okay, so at least it's not the fact that she was hiding the person who
she
actually
was just being a good person.
I wouldn't have cared. I'd have helped the kid.
I know you would have, but yeah.
Freaking.
Probably the only witness to what happened. Just walked away.
Ah, no!
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Dang it!
Exactly. And so she
Well,
probably even says something like, you know, that man won't hurt you anymore. Don't worry.
I didn't hurt.
No, not you. The guy who killed his father, right? Like.
Well, I walk over to the inspector to talk to them.
Okay.
If we want to cut away for a while,
That's
to
what I
go
was
to
thinking,
the
right?
others-
Like, yeah,
That's
we
fine.
see you cut away to the inspectors, and then we'll cut back. So, Viviane or Joe, which of you would like to take the spotlight here?
I have any letters?
You don't get one like this morning necessarily.
Dang.
Yeah.
Okay.
Joe, you get invited to the Forsaken Quill Society.
Let's go.
Yeah. So the Forsaken Quill Society meets at I don't know. What do you think? Where would they meet?
The library, of course.
Which library? Like the Grand Public Library?
Of course.
Okay.
Like we have our own private room.
Okay, yeah, of course. So we get this like panoramic shot of like the big, expensive, fancy looking, grand library of Anasteire. And you guys have like some sort of like secret tower chamber somewhere where you guys have your secret meetings. I think what's happening exactly. I think what's happening is
Through the library.
we're in this room and we see all of these like various, mostly lords. It's mostly guys, and they're all just like arguing or something. Like maybe not arguing exactly, but they're all shouting at each other. Like everyone's like, "What are we gonna do now that he's dead? Are you even continue this?" Like and like they're all yelling at each other. And then Joe, you enter the room. How do you enter the room? What does like this look like?
I mean, I'm sophisticated. I'm a lady. I mean, I don't just like give in to like this shouting. I think I'm a little bit like mom to some of these boys. And I'm just like, boys, what is all this fuss about? Like kind of like a teacher voice almost.
Yeah.
Just like
and
what is going on?
Yeah, we see most of the noblemen, right, like stand up and like as a sign of respect, you would do this in the presence of a lady, and just do the small bow, and then Sir Pascal Gilbert steps up to you, and again, Sir Pascal is.
Do I know that he's romantically interested in me, or is like as a character, or has that not been revealed yet?
That's a good question. Let's see, what are his skills? I mean, he doesn't have, like, inconspicuous or anything.
But how perceptive is Joe, too?
I'm trying to think what even the role would be for that.
I just want to know if, like, I'm coming onto this...
I think it's up to you whether or not you've noticed.
I mean, Joe, I want to say, is, like, pretty perceptive.
You have a
my
will,
belief
though.
is that I'm going to, like, push him away.
Mm-hmm.
Like...
So maybe it's like been a thing for a while.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
I feel like Joe would be slow to catch on to those things, but we can say that it's been
I mean,
a while.
that's true, so I don't know. That's why I'm like, I don't...
But if you already have a belief on it, it's fine to say that, like, you've noticed it by now.
Now, is Joe's middle name Ari?
Yeah, short for Ariana. So yeah, Sir Pascal Gilbert steps up to you. And a couple of just quick traits that you know about Sir Pascal. He has base humility. So he's a humble guy. And he's also prone to exaggeration. He has the mark of privilege like every noble in your station, but he's also a quick study. So he has the die trait that means aptitude for learning perception skills are decreased by 1. So it's easier for him to learn perception-based skills. Those are the things you know about him as a general human being. I guess you also probably know that he was a student, and obviously like studied the same sort of stuff that you did in terms of like the ancient empire that like supposedly might have been magical and all this stuff. He has like obscure history as a skill and research, symbology, calligraphy, that sort of stuff. He also does a mean illumination. So yeah, he
does what?
He does a mean illumination, which is like a skill of basically illuminated books are like the fancy books in the medieval ages where they had all these drawings and illustrations and all that stuff. But so he steps up to you and he says, Lady Boulay, we're just discussing really the particular
looks like
situation.
a bunch of childish boys arguing to me.
Well, I mean, it was getting heated, of course, but I promise you we weren't angry at each other, really. It was just passionate opinions as to what we should do now that Maxence Bechard is...
dead.
Yes. And once you say that, like everyone who, even there is a couple of people who are still talking, and like they all of them quiet, and they like look at you, and everybody kind of like looks around, like, oh man, yeah, he's dead.
Yeah, I'm like, how disrespectful of all you men, fighting and bickering after only a day after he's dead.
And I think one of the guys says, "Isn't that what we did most of the time anyway?" And someone like slaps him.
That was me in this alternate universe.
Joe just like death glare. So who's my competition here? Like for me, like, because I think I should be the leader. Clearly, after seeing all this bickering, these boys are not going to get anywhere without me as their leader. So who's my big competition? Who is closest to
let's do this. Let's have you make a circles test to find this person. Because the way circles tests work, right, is if you succeed, then you get to determine all of those details about this person.
Okay.
If you fail, then I do. And they probably hate you.
Probably. It's okay. Yeah. Most people probably hate Joe anyways.
Exactly, right?
Okay, so I need to roll a circles.
Yeah, so let's find out what the job of this circles test would be.
How do I roll circles test?
It is an attribute.
Okay. Oh, it's okay. There it
Under
is.
Attributes, yeah.
Ooh. Okay.
What do you have? You have like a 1 in it?
I have a 1.
Yep, I thought you did. Okay, so you're looking for someone who has... What are your life paths?
Lady. Let's see. What are my life?
You have
noble-born young lady, student, and interpreter.
You're probably looking for another student. That's probably who this person would be. So it's same life path as you. They're probably around the same station as you. But really, it's just like, is this person...
Well, was this person closer to, really the question is really, was he closer to Lord Bechard more than me? Is he smarter than me? Like, would he be a better leader than me? That kind of a thing.
So I guess, what is your intent here? What do you want to be true?
What I want to be true is that everybody is that in our circle, right, in this club, that it's like me and like maybe 1 or 2 other people that are like regarded as kind of like
his secondhand people.
His like secondhand people. And I want to be the best of the secondhand.
Right. So basically what you're doing here is the circles test is to determine that the closest person who would maybe be the leader to you is not leader-like enough to actually do it. That's what you want to be true.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
I would be the obvious candidate.
Yeah,
here.
I think that's going to be an ob2 test, not super difficult. But what you can do is you do have an affiliation with the Forsaken Quill Society, so you can add that die. And I think you can add your die for reputation as a weird book lady, right? Both of those are related here. So you can you have 3. Yeah.
So I get to add in 2 modifiers.
So 2 modifiers, which will give you 3 dice total. Ob2.
Okay. Base ob2. Okay. Yes!
Nice! Awesome. You got all successes. Wow, you got a really good roll. You got a 5, a 6, and a 6. Congratulations.
The odds are ever in my favor.
Yeah, exactly. So you tell us, who is this guy and what is he exactly like?
What would his name be?
I'll generate a name for him, but
what's a good French name? Okay.
Yeah.
This guy, I think he's just like one of the richest ones there, and he's like really snooty, and like nobody really likes him because he's just like kind of arrogant. Mm-hmm. And so nobody respects him on that level. Like, even though Joe is arrogant in a lot of ways, she's earned their respect by being like, no, I'm actually smart. And he's just like, I'm rich. And they're like, so we all are. Get over it.
Okay. I think that name fits him too. Leonard Chabonnier.
Exactly. Yeah. Chabonnier. Yeah.
But yeah. So even though we're both kind of egotistical, like I have more reason to be egotistical than he does. Yeah. And so they actually respect me and what I have to say.
Okay. Yeah, that is a true statement about the universe, Joe. Congratulations. Yeah, that's good. You can mark that routine circles test, which you only need 1 of. And so have you made any circles tests yet?
No, that was my first one.
I think I'm the only, no.
So you just
actually, is Emily the only person who's made a circles test, or have I made a circles test?
No, I almost made
Emily
one
made
last session, but then I
one,
decided
yeah.
not to.
Emily
I don't
made
know
one. I
if
think
I
that's the only
did.
person.
So I marked 1.
So all you need to advance that now is 1 difficult or 1 challenging. So
Oh,
I did make one last time.
you need to roll basically any test that's going to be that you're only going to roll. Basically, you want to roll once for a circles test and only roll 1 die for it. And not, you can always choose to add in modifiers or not add in modifiers. And this is a meta way of getting tests. So if you're like, I need this test to advance, but I might fail this roll if I don't add the modifiers, you can still choose not to add the modifiers to like give yourself that test that you need. So that's what you need for another circles test. Cool. Yeah. So that's true. Leonardo Chabonnier. And so basically what happens, right, is what did you just say? Like you were just.
Just like in general.
Yeah. What
like
was this last statement that you just said?
I think the last statement was just like, how dare all of you like start yelling at each other when this man just died yesterday.
Right. And everybody's like, yeah, quiet.
Bickering and arguing.
Oh, and the guy said like, isn't this what we do anyway? And then someone hit him.
Yeah.
And so I think what it was is that was the guy, right? The guy who said that was Leonard Charbonnier. And so the guy hit him, right? And that proves that nobody really pays attention to him, right? Like he's just this voice. He's all talk and no bite. It's just the way that goes. Cool. Yeah. So the floor is yours. Like everyone's listening to you. What do you say?
Oh God. Okay.
Because you've just established the social dynamic here, right?
I did.
So everyone's looking at you.
Okay. So I mean, I think I like walk deeper into the room, right? Just like quiet at first, like as everybody's hush hush and like.
Yeah, and this is like a small discreet chamber, just kind of like lined with chairs. And then there is there's probably all around a table. And there's like.
So I think as my power move, what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna still sit in my normal chair that I normally do and leave his seat empty, and not take it. And I'm just gonna be like, I'm just gonna sit in my normal chair and say something along the lines of like, we should not be bickering. We should be mourning over our friend.
I'm curious as to if all of this conversation is in sign language. Do they
No,
all know it?
because
don't think
not all
so,
of them do. Some of them do, but not all of them. They have various interests, some of which include certainly the secret language. But I think the thing that unites all of you in this group is you have an interest in this ancient empire that's no longer around anymore.
Right.
So
and we
there's
all have
lots
like
of aspects of that, right?
Aspects of it.
Yeah, exactly. Like Sir Pascal Gilbert, for example, is very interested in the obscure history, the symbology, the illuminations, the calligraphy, that sort of stuff, and not necessarily the language. So,
right. Yeah. So I mean, I just say like, just to like, I mean, because Jo wants this spot, but she's not like insensitive. She's not like, hey, all right, everybody, I'm the leader now. Like this is something she wants to like slowly establish to keep her reputation as the respectable lady that she is.
Yeah.
And carry herself well.
Okay.
So
I feel like I even want you to just roll an etiquette test for that moment, right? Like the moment you sit down, like, because what you want to get across here, right, is that I am in charge, but I am not going to be arrogant about it, right? Like everyone knows I'm in charge.
Right.
And I'm just sitting here and we're all here just talking. I'm not going to be over you in like some sort of grand sense, but respect me, right? And respect me because I'm doing it this way.
Right.
And I think that's like an etiquette.
Let's also pay respect to the man who just died.
Exactly.
Also.
Yeah.
Okay. So what?
Yeah, I think it's an etiquette test.
Okay. Can I fork in? Let's see here. Let's see. What can I fork in here? I don't know if I could fork in anything here. City-wise, maybe?
I don't think so.
Inconspicuous?
Yeah, I think so. That's kind of part of what you're doing, right?
Instruction, maybe? That's the only other thing. I mean, I'm not instructing them to do anything, kind of. Except...
only thing else I could think about here is if you made a linked test with history, to like remember some sort of you could literally make up a moment in the ancient empires, in the Saint Empire's history where this exact thing happened, and you're like mirroring it. That could be a cool thing.
Okay, I'll make a link test for history.
Okay,
sounds cool. Okay, so what? Okay.
Let me find history. So yeah, do that first. Do the history test first. So
well, let's see if I can fork anything. Could I fork any ancient language for that, since I'm specifically calling on the ancient history?
No, I don't think so.
What about myth-wise?
Yes, for sure. Absolutely.
Philosophy, maybe, even?
I don't think for this role, but if you gave me one more like sentence of dialogue as you like sit down that would bring up some sort of philosophical point, I could give you a die for the actual etiquette role that you're making.
I mean, philosophical line.
Right, exactly. Like some sort of thing like, you know, a leader is best. Like you're bringing up some sort of philosophical thing from probably the Saint Empire's history.
Sorry.
You're good.
Right. So just some kind of like.
Did you already contact them for the?
Yeah.
I wish I could. I wish I like. I remembered something from like the Book of Proverbs or something like that. Right. As the great.
You could always just say Thor has truly blessed us.
Truly blessed us. No, because that would not be true. Gosh, I don't know. As the ancient ruler once said, "We are all best united."
When we stand on even ground.
Sure, yeah, that sounds great.
That's a cool proverb.
Yeah.
I knew what you were going for. Like, yeah, it's fine.
Okay,
I'll give it
so
to you just
a link test for history.
Yeah,
I get one modifier.
Yeah, for myth-wise. And I think it's gonna be an ob 2.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Nice. All right, you can mark that routine history test. So it is. Oh, okay. So also the way link tests work, though, this is true, but it doesn't give you an extra die. If you wanted to spend a fate to reroll one failed dice and you got an extra success, you could get one extra die for your next roll.
No, that's okay.
Okay. So this is true, and you are making definitely a point about history, but it doesn't necessarily give you an added edge. It doesn't make it worse, though. So now your etiquette test is going to be...
So I'm
2
doing
modifiers?
inconspicuous, and then you said I could get another one for philosophy too, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Modifier 2, what's my base ob?
Let's find out. What kind of etiquette is this? It's not like particularly high-ranking etiquette, but it is complex. So I say ob 2, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Both 6s. Nice. All right, you can mark that routine for etiquette as well. So you make this perfect etiquette point, and there was some ruler in history that did this exact thing. Like the previous king died, and instead of taking the throne, he literally like sat amongst his like lords, right, and said, you know, we need to unite. And he said this exact thing, right? Like, we are only united when we stand on even ground. And that is like a thing that exists in history now. Congratulations, Joe. You have made your mark on history. And everyone is like in awe, right? They're just like, oh, that was cool. Like, because they're all nerds about this, right? So they've all read that moment over and over again in history. And they're like, Joe's so cool. You just LARPed for them is what happened. So...
Oh my god.
Swoon for me, men.
Exactly. Yeah. So that happens. And honestly, I think in this initial moment, like, you have undeniable control of this group. So, like, what are you going to do with it, right? Like,
okay.
Everyone kind of looks at you and they're like, well, what do we do now?
So I think Joe just says, a time will come when we need to decide who's in this chair. And she like gestures to like the one next to her that's empty. And just something along the lines of like, but now is not the time. Now is the time to mourn for our brother. And then I think at that point she's just like, who knows about funerals in the ancient world? Let's learn about that today.
Right, of course.
gosh.
Yeah, you guys are gonna give Maxence Bechard the Sacreich funeral that he deserves.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sacreich is the official name for it's like their language name for the Saint Empire is what it's called.
Mhm.
Basically it means like this Saint Empire. The sacred empire of one bit or another. Yeah, okay. Funeral rites. Let's see. That's a particular... Okay, so I think what you're going to do here is, Joe, you're going to make another circles test.
Okay.
For one of these people to be... Because this is like a religious ritual thing that they need to know. Someone could technically make a roll that's not like religious ritual to know this, but it would be harder. It'd be easier if someone like literally was just like, this is my specialty.
Right.
And so I think this is going to be another Ob2 circles test.
Okay.
So you can put both of your die from your reputation and your affiliation in this, or you can abstain from one of them and possibly get, and then get this difficult task, which would upgrade your circles, but might fail you the test. Because if you're rolling 2 dice, if you're rolling 3 dice, it's going to be a routine. If you're rolling 2 dice, then it's going to be a difficult test, which is
right, which means I could up my circles. Okay.
And you would, whether you failed or succeeded.
Okay, right. So I'm just okay, because I feel like this, of all things, could be the least amount of consequences possible, because I have control of the room already.
Yeah.
So I think I'm just gonna go for it.
Okay.
Just go for the harder one.
So 1 modifier.
Okay. So I could still get this, but I might fail. And if I fail, okay. We'll be all right. So base op 2 again?
Yep.
Okay. Oh.
No. Well, but you have a 6.
Okay,
you can spend a fate to reroll that 6.
Oh. But why would I want to reroll a 6?
So basically what that means is you roll that 6 again, and so it open ends, and you still keep that 1 success, but then you can get another success.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, that's what it means by open ending. It's not saying you get rid of the 6 and replace it with something else.
Right.
You're expanding it. So the 6 leads to another roll, which
leads
may
to
lead
another
to
roll.
another
Just
roll.
basically it means it gives me another dice.
Exactly.
Essentially.
But you can keep doing it as long as you keep rolling 6s. So if you rolled another 6, it would just keep re-rolling.
Oh. I see. Okay. I don't know if I have... How many fate points do I have? I have 2.
Yep.
How badly do I want this? I'm trying to think of what the consequences... I'm like trying to think of what the consequences to like me not succeeding.
I'm not gonna make the person who knows the funeral rites hate you for no reason. It's just gonna be they don't exist. No one has a specialty in that, which would be sad, but...
Right. Well, that would mean that I don't know, and that might,
it's true.
A little damper. Okay, I'm going to spend 1 fate point. Yeah. Why not?
Okay.
Okay. So /roll 1d6. You said less than
greater
than 4.
Yep.
Okay. Where's my greater than sign? This keyboard. Oh. 1 success.
Yep. There you go. That's all you needed. Cool. So, let's see. Would it be fun to say that it's Leonard Charvier that knows their ritual?
I get to decide.
But he likes you. That's the thing, right? Because you made the circles test successfully. Like, he doesn't hate you. Nobody hates you in this room, really.
True.
So we could. But he's like, okay, it's up to you, really, Joe. Do you want this to be that guy, or do you want to make him a new guy? It doesn't really matter.
I feel like I want to make him a new guy. I want to let, this is like the obscure person who never thought that they would ever get a chance in the spotlight.
Right? Yeah.
Because they just studied, the ancient funerals of the ancient rulers.
So
and that's,
you know what that is?
Did.
I think it's the only other female in the group.
Aww.
And her name is Lady Jocelyn Marquant.
Awesome. So do I make a 2 for circles now?
Yes. Yeah, you upgrade your circles to 2.
Okay, and then do I keep my bubbles or do I erase them?
You erase them. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, another thing for circles that I forgot to say. Everybody go to your information real quick, the information tab there.
Okay.
So below relationships on the bottom there, you'll see 2 things that say circles and enemy circles. Joe, you're going to go ahead and add 2 things there.
Okay.
And
gonna add in.
It's going to add in. So basically write these 2 guys down. Or, you know.
Leonard.
Charbonnier.
Ow! Serena.
The cat.
Yeah. Relationship. Ow! Serena, stop. Relationship aptitude.
Yeah, so basically what this means, so you're going to mark one of those bubbles. And every time you try to find this guy to like have him do something for you, you're going to mark another of those bubbles. And once you get to 8 or whatever, you know, it's 10 minus your circles. So whatever your current circles is, once you get to that amount, then they become a relationship. So you never have to roll circles to find them again.
Okay.
So Sir Pascal Gilbert, you can always find him. You can always say, I want a scene with Sir Pascal Gilbert. And we can just say, he's here, wherever you want him. But these two people, you have to keep rolling circles to find. But this is basically saying, like, once you get a certain amount of bubbles on them, then you know them permanently, and you can find them wherever you need to. Cool, yeah. Awesome. So Lady Jocelyn, who's the shy wallflower of a person, so you literally say, you know, does anyone know of funerals? And, like, there's a moment of silence, and it's almost as like she's not going to raise her hand because it's just, like, too much pressure, but eventually she just slightly, and she has like spectacles and she has like very like dull brown hair, and she just sort of raises her hand and says, Lady Josephine, I did make a particular point of studying the funeral rites of the Zachrike. I believe that I could perform an adequate funeral for our beloved Bechard.
Then let's do so.
Okay, yeah, so we just see, I mean, we just cut there, right? And then you guys are going to set that up. Cool. Awesome. Well, let's go ahead and take our
That went so well for me.
Joe, you mastered that whole situation. That was great. I don't think you failed a single roll in that whole thing.
Almost did.
You almost did, but yeah, that was good. That was good. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll be back with more Lavender Shadows right after this, and we'll see what's going on with Viviane. We'll be back.
I don't even know.
In a little bit. Stick around.